Today I'm going to be talking about my experience of online learning. Obviously, when we all went into lockdown, this is something I and everyone else at university at this time had to transition to. So my experience of online learning was actually a really good one. I didn't mind it because I like to do a lot of the things from Moodle anyway. Obviously I go to the lectures, but I do prefer taking the notes just from the slides afterwards when they're put up on Moodle. So for me it wasn't too much of a drastic change. So one of the biggest struggles of online learning was having the motivation to still actually do the learning. So you didn't have to go to a specific time and place to do a lecture like you would traditionally. It was all just put on Moodle to do, obviously ideally as soon as it's put up, but realistically when you want to. It was easy to just put it off until suddenly it's exams and you've got all these lectures to get through that because you didn't in the week they were set. Another big hurdle of online learning was that the dynamics of group courseworks had to change a lot. You can no longer meet up with your group face to face, and instead you had to do meetings on Skype and Microsoft Teams, which was fine when it's all set up and working, but you had to work for a lot of different time zones because obviously everyone's at home and that could be at various points around the world. So you had to make sure that you weren't just working your own self-interest, but also you were accommodating what works for everyone else. And the final biggest challenge of online learning that I found was that the social element was lost a bit. The learning experience isn't just you sitting and absorbing information, it's also who you interact with, when you're interacting, being able to go up to the lecturer at the end of a lecture and ask a question. So just making sure you find ways around them, whether that's making some kind of email connection with your lecturers, arranging meetings with lecturers or teammates or whoever that might be when you feel like you need some help, or just whenever it feels necessary really. However, there were some big benefits of online learning that made me prefer it in some ways, obviously not in all ways. So one of these is that it was more efficient sometimes. I mean, you didn't have to commute on a bus from your house to uni for a lecture, or you didn't have to commute from your house to town for a group meeting. A lot of wasted time of just journeying was completely scrapped. You just log on, go to a meeting, and then you can go get a cup of tea, or you can go on to another meeting, or you can watch some TV. Another key benefit of online learning was that you can do things at your own pace. So when the lectures are online and in video format, you can skip ahead, you can skip back, you can change the pace you're actually talking at, you can pause it while you're writing down a lot of notes, you can watch at different speeds based on whether it's a topic you understand a lot or whether it's one you're struggling on. And obviously that's something you can't do when you're actually sat in the lecture theatre. You've got to just keep up with what the lecturer's saying. So it kind of gives you a bit more control over your studies and to learn at your own pace, which I really liked. Finally, the key benefit of online learning was that it offered a lot of flexibility. So obviously, traditionally your lectures are planned out for you, when you'll do them and where you'll go. Whereas this way round, they're always on Moodle, so you can do them whenever you're feeling most productive or whatever time suits you best. Basically, it's really apparent that online learning has its pros, it has its cons. It will suit some people more than others depending on what your priorities and preferences are. But I definitely say that the online learning experience, although it's not what you picture of going to university typically, definitely not all is lost by it, and I still had a fine experience learning through it.